Hey, deserving listeners, Love is Blind, Season 3. Let's rewatch Knowing What We Know Now. Let's see what happens.
I'm with him to just kind of let him know exactly where I was. And I asked him if he didn't see a wedding day, and then I do, let's just go our separate ways. And we both agreed to kind of keep it going. He wasn't ready. He was like, I want to marry the girl from the pods. And here I am just saying, I'm the girl from the pods. It's
interesting, I forgot about that. So this is right the day after the honeymoon, and they're saying, Zanab is saying that maybe the end of the honeymoon, she approached him and said, look, if you think this is not great for you, then let's call it off. No harm, no foul. She said that she wants to marry him, but she wanted to know from him. And he said, no, I do. I want to see this thing through or something like that. I want to marry the girl from the pods, as she's quoting him. And that's interesting that they would talk that explicitly that early on about that. And you just have to figure that if they were in a real world situation, that they would just stop dating at that point, right? But because of the show, they're forced to see things through in a way that is not great for the two of them, right?
Oh, it's very you.
It's dirty.
Oh, it doesn't smell bad. That's like a big thing. Cole's apartment has boy written all over it. Random pair of underwear over there by your TV. Yeah, what I expected.
Oh, I forgot how bad that was. And, we don't need to genderize that. I'm a boy, and I clean the toilets in our house. I'm the main bathroom cleaner, and I'm pretty meticulous about it. I wasn't when I was his age, though. I was utterly disgusting when I was his age. And she has, of course, every right, and I think she's pretty normal to be critical of that, of just like, ugh. Now, he would say in later interviews that he was working a lot, and he had been out of town or something, and he wanted to clean his place because he knew that there was a possibility that he would be introducing his fiancée to the place, but he was in such a rush that he didn't have time to clean, so he just shoved all his clothes in his luggage and left, and he was like, oh, I didn't get a chance to clean my place. So, but at the very least, you would imagine that, and then the amount of time so maybe the toilet didn't look that way when he left, but because it was left alone for a long time, it became that. So, that's possible.
We're out, and they're just gonna send me Bible verses now and stuff, and it's like, I thought relationship with Jesus was supposed to make you love people deeper, not become more religious and more entitled and more self-righteous, and we just can't be around you because you're not who we thought you should be. Yeah,
that's pretty awful. He talks about this in subsequent interviews after the season, but I forgot just how awful it was. I don't think he describes it in this way later on, but yeah, that is pretty awful. I think he comes across like he's resilient, but just imagine how that would feel. That would be really rough, and yeah, that's pretty sad.
Colleen,
I don't care at this point.
why do you not care?
No.
I am shooting you straight.
No,
there is
I
one
care.
girl in this whole thing
You
for me.
have
It's
affected
you.
my self-esteem. I hate being this couple.
Well, then don't be this couple.
Cole,
you and I were good.
Do you agree? Yeah, and we're so great.
Yeah, so he could have helped the situation by being more validating and just saying, if he truly wanted to actually work things out, which I imagine he did in this moment, he could have just said something like, yeah, I'm sorry that I said that. I shouldn't have said that. I could see how that would be hurtful. I don't know what's wrong with me, or I'm going to go to therapy, or here's what's wrong with me, or something. Just say that. But instead, it's attacking her for having that reactivity. There's, what's wrong with you? How come you would be that way? Stop it. Stop feeling like that. I've reassured you already. Yeah. And we use this as a jumping off point. There are things that your partner will tell you that will be repeated misunderstandings. Like, the longer you are with someone romantically, the more you will see a pattern. And the kinds of complaints that you'll hear from your partner, like, I don't know, common ones will be, I feel like you don't really love me. You hear that from your partner. I feel like you're not attracted to me. I feel like you don't care about my feelings. I feel like you don't listen to me. I feel like you don't hear me. I feel like you don't remember what I ask of you. I feel like you don't consider my situation. Insert specifics underneath that, of course, when you're being criticized or alerted by your partner along those lines. And you will hear the same thing over and over and over again. And the temptation for people is to say, look, that's on you. I keep reassuring you, and I've already reassured you 10,000 times. You keep misinterpreting things. That's on you. And that's your fault. It's not my fault. So, okay. But we have to recognize that both people will have repeated misunderstandings of each other. And so you just have to accept that. And you can certainly criticize it, but you want to start at the beginning of the conversation when your partner alerts you is to validate, is just to say, yeah, I could see how you would interpret it that way. That's not how I meant it, but I could see. And you've also told me that you tend to interpret things that way, which I'm not saying is right or wrong. I'm just saying that's how things are, and I forgot, or I didn't realize I was coming across that way, or that wasn't how I intended. But I get it. That's how it felt to you, and that makes sense. And even in the back of your mind, if you're like, that doesn't make sense, just assume that your partner isn't completely insane, that there's a good possibility that a lot of people, if not a majority of people, would have also interpreted it that way. Just because it's not how you intended on coming across doesn't mean that a lot of people wouldn't have had a similar reaction as your partner. So just validate. For him, he's at this point now where he's like, I've already been over this with you. I've already explained this to you. I've already reassured you. I've already explained the situation. I've already told you that regardless of my feelings towards Colleen, you're the one for me. How come you keep hammering on this? That ignores human nature. It's important that you continue to validate. Now, after you validate, after Cole says, yeah, I can see how you would see it that way. Now, in the back of your mind, you could be frustrated, like, oh, we're here again. Why are we here again? The reason why we're here again is because, one, you might not understand how you're coming across. Two, you're not fully appreciating your partner's schemas and emotional and relational traumas. And three, it's just human nature to have repeated issues like this. So you just acknowledge it. You're just like, yeah, I can see how you would interpret that way, and you fully validate. And once she's satisfied along those lines reasonably, then you can say, I want to be clear, though. I feel like you're misinterpreting things. I feel like you're choosing maybe to look at it that way. I don't know. So you can certainly have that conversation, but to start with it is usually going to aggravate the other person. It's going to be an additional pain. In fact, it could be even a bigger pain, a bigger hurt for the person in Colleen's shoes of just like, well, I was hurt initially by what he did, but the fact that he keeps hammering me and putting me down for having that reaction is even more hurtful.
Great. Do you not think we're great? Do you not think we're great?
I thought we were doing better
What
than
has
ever.
changed
But
for
now I
you?
feel like we're right back in Malibu where you're really upset about one comment I made.
Yeah, I think most people would relate to Zanab's feelings the way that he said it. One comment that you made, cool. Now, maybe he doesn't remember, which is fine, but there were many times when it wasn't just one comment, and two, the way he said it, the way he kept inserting the concept of him being attracted to Colleen. So yeah, you hear it in his language. It's like, I've already been over this. I've already explained it to you. You keep going back there. You keep going back there. You can certainly criticize that, but you have to validate up front, because you're not going to get anywhere until you establish that your partner isn't crazy for having this feeling.
Colleen and I told each other how we feel about each other physically, but in the pods, it was very clear that emotionally, we had zero connection whatsoever. And you and I had like 11 out of 10 connection, like unreal. Like I proposed.
I think this is one of those moments where Cole thinks he's being reassuring, but his naivete or youth or immaturity or something is ignoring how this isn't necessarily reassuring. He is repeating what he keeps saying. Yeah, he just repeated. Yeah, absolutely. With Colleen, I am absolutely physically attracted to her, but I'm emotionally attracted to you. So doesn't that reassure you? I'm guessing for her, she's like, no, that doesn't reassure me. It's nice that you're emotionally attracted to me, but I want the whole package, right? I want you to be physically and emotionally attracted to me. And so also, Colleen is just one person. You're going to meet other people out there. So am I constantly going to be wondering if you're drastically more attracted to other people? Also, by definition, you're not attracted to me physically, which doesn't feel great.
Like, wow, that's more my type. That's kind of what I was expecting in marriage. But I proposed to a girl named Zanab. Do you think I thought Zanab looked like the girls I dated in the past that were named like Lily? No! You and I have recounted this situation time and time again on an airplane and in mountains.
Yeah, I sort of forgot about that comment. I think that's a veiled reference to ethnicity. I'm not sure. Because there has been this question and accusation that a part of this for Cole is based on race and ethnicity. That he wasn't saying it directly, but might he have been discriminated against her because of her ethnicity or something? And when he says something like that, it kind of points in that direction. Because I think what he's saying is, yeah, sure. Are you not someone that is white? Yeah, but that's fun. Or I don't know. What is he saying here?
Girls I dated in the past that were named like Lily. No! You and I have recounted this situation.
But by extension, he's saying I'm more physically attracted to white people, to white women, and less so to non-white women. You could imagine Zanab interpreting it that way, right? And it's certainly the viewership. So yeah, that's that's not helpful to say in that moment. I don't think.
I am attracted to Zay, and I have no feelings for Colleen.
Yeah, I love that whole display.
That's my display. So that's how you treat the things that I say. It's just a display.
Yeah, that's pretty dismissive. I get why she's hurt and maybe angry and maybe a little dismissive, but yeah, that's a pretty interesting thing to say to someone as they're trying. And you could argue that on a scale of attempts to reassure or fix the problem, that was like a 4 out of 10. I mean, we could imagine worse, right? Especially in these shows that I watch. So, I put him at like a 4, maybe a 5. I don't know where my gauge is exactly, but at the very least, it wasn't a complete whiff, and you could imagine that he at least believes he's communicating, I'm in love with you. I'm not in love with Colleen. I said I was attracted to her, but I want to be with you. And I think for him, that means a lot, but I think to the viewership and to Zanab, it doesn't sound sincere because it's not very convincing based on people's understanding of why you would want to be with someone forever, anyway. But you could argue that it was in that direction. And then she just dismisses the whole thing as a display, as not only just something that she didn't want to hear, but that he's faking the whole thing, that it's some manufactured fake thing. Now, maybe she has reason to believe that I'm reading into it that, or I'm interpreting the word display, but that's what it sounds like, right? It sounds like she's saying you're faking something, you're acting, you're manipulating or something. And yeah, that would be pretty deflating and demoralizing. As you're trying and you're giving it a 4 out of 10, you're not doing amazing, but at least you're trying, right? You could give him at least a 3 for effort, right? He's like, saying a lot of words, being emphatic, not being super aware, but there's effort there. You can clearly see that he's trying to fight for the relationship. He's trying to fight for her to understand that he wants to be with her. That's clear from his rhetoric there and his emphasis. And then when he's done talking, you're just like, yeah, I appreciate your whole like fake display right there. I appreciate all that fakery that you're doing. Yeah, that's pretty dismissive. That's pretty awful.
That's my display. So that's how you treat the things that I say. It's just a display.
You have said some things which are very nice. And I feel like I have a good sense of where you're at.
Now, you could argue that she is rational to wonder if there's more to it. She elaborated a little bit. She's saying, I appreciate that you're trying to be nice. So if I was to take a guess, I'm thinking what she is really saying is, yeah, I appreciate the effort that you're putting into it, but I think you don't really love me as much as you're claiming that you do. And, if you don't love me, you don't love me. If you don't want to be with me, you don't want to be with me. But maybe you're not even aware of it. I don't know. You seem to be trying to convince me that you're compelled towards me, but I don't really feel it. And maybe I'm misinterpreting. I think that's what she's saying, but that's not what she said. What she said in the beginning anyway was, I appreciate her whole display, which I think I was interpreting. I think he did in a worse way than I think she was meaning it in the moment. Yeah. I mean, there's just a lot of other ways to communicate that in the moment. She could say something like, okay, well, thanks for trying, but I have to say I'm not particularly reassured. And maybe it's my insecurities. Maybe it's a product of the situation. Maybe I'm misinterpreting you. I don't know. But I'll tell you, I'm still not, and then maybe she could check in with herself. It's like, what's going on with me? Well, what's going on with me is I want to feel like you're 110% oriented toward me, not only emotionally, but physically. And I just don't feel it. And maybe, again, that's just my insecurity. Maybe it's a part of the fact we don't know each other that well. But I'm just not super reassured that I can trust you, or that, not that you're lying to me, but that I can trust that you'll always love me and that you will never want to be with anyone else. And again, it's no harm, no foul. But so she could say something like that, right? It's taking responsibility. It's not blaming. It's not accusatory. It's tentative. So she could say something like that, but instead it's more of what her demeanor is. But you could argue that what she's saying right now is kind of in that direction.
Just happened Matt.
So you're just not able to move on past it.
Unfortunately, Colleen is a knockout. I get it. Can't look like her.
You're a knockout too.
Never look like her, but that's fine.
So we just heard him say, you're a knockout too. And then they edited something out, it looked like. And according to Cole in subsequent interviews after the season, I think he was claiming that they cut out things that he was saying that was more reassuring and would highlight his attraction to Zanab. So I just want to allow for that possibility. And then we hear her, Zanab, not really regard it. He says it, you're a knockout too, and you would imagine that would at least be registered, but she doesn't register it. She just blows past it.
Unfortunately, Colleen is a knockout. I get it. Can't look like her.
You're a knockout too.
Never look like her, but that's fine.
Yeah, so I don't know. They broke up. We know that. And we could see why, and we're witnessing part of the downfall of their relationship.
I'm more attracted to you than I am her now because I've gotten to know you.
That makes me feel great.
Interesting. I forgot about that statement as well. And we imagine that he said that hopefully more than just this moment. So, yeah, interesting.
I'm more attracted to you than I am her now because I've gotten to know you.
That makes me feel great.
Zay, I am sorry that this whole thing is happening.
Yeah, I don't think you are, but it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, it's pretty dismissive. And you could argue he is saying a lot of things that at the very least she could register. She could say, okay, well, that's nice to hear. I still feel insecure and hurt by what's happening, because maybe it's just a matter of fact that you are attracted to her equally amount, or was, or something. I don't know. It's just hurts me. But it's just that sort of belittling. I don't know. It's not terribly belittling, but at the very least, it's dismissive of him and what he's saying.
Her now because I've gotten to know you.
That makes me feel great.
Zay, I am sorry that this whole thing is happening.
Yeah, I don't think you are, but it's fine. It's fine. Matt and I, we were on the receiving ends of what you felt was appropriate to say, and we.
So yeah, I mean, if she does have a legit complaint that he hasn't fully acknowledged, and that's okay. But to just say, I don't think you. Well, yeah, I could go with what she said there. I don't think you're actually sorry. Because he's saying I'm sorry, but it's not I'm sorry, it's I'm sorry that you. That's a non-apology. You're using the word sorry, but you're not actually expressing sorrow and remorse for a transgression. It's like, well, I'm really sorry that you feel that way. So I think she's responding to that, which makes sense.
Like, I'm on Team Matt with this whole thing.
And you're on Team Matt and not Team Cole.
Now
you've switched sides and I'm a bad guy.
Bro, you said something that was out of line. You did.
Yeah, I think we can see the seeds of what eventually would grow into the tree of anger that was displayed at the altar. And so she is, I think, exhibiting that more than she would normally. So in the moment, I think I was interpreting this as, well, maybe they'll be able to pull out of the nosedive, or maybe alcohol is involved in this. But it looks like both of them, particularly her, might have turned a corner, and maybe both of them turned a corner in this moment that they either weren't ready to admit to themselves or others or something. But yeah, I mean, you just see the contempt between the two of them that's growing in this moment.
And you're on Team Matt and not Team Cole.
Now
you've switched sides and I'm a bad guy.
Bro, you said something that was out of line. You did. And this is not the kind of relationship I want with you.
Yeah. I mean, I suspected as much, that way before the altar, the two of them had made a choice internally, or at least a good part of them had made a choice that this was not a relationship they wanted to be in, but they were going to see it through to the end, to the altar, because they were on the show. So, yeah, you can clearly see at least the beginnings, if not the end of the road, in terms of their attraction to each other, or compassion, or goodwill towards each other. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself, because you deserve it. You really, really do.